Georgia has become the next country to decriminalize marijuana. I know that in Georgia, George has the really heavy voice. Why didn't you include George into the negotiation process on this law?
It was done. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. The Constitutional Court of Georgia made a decision about decriminalizing marijuana to a certain extent. It was not full decriminalization, but it was the Constitutional Court's decision. And now we are working on the legislation in order to make it in line with the Constitutional Court's decision, and that is the ongoing process. Of course, we will have consultations with many stakeholders, with NGOs, with the different experts in this field, and of course we will have consultations with the Georgian church, which has its own opinion about this issue, and finally the decision will be made according to the outcomes of these consultations.
Thank you. What about the ex-Prime Minister of Georgia, Mr. Ivanishvili? Do you contact to him, and are he involving into Georgian politics right now?
It was Mr. Ivanishvili's decision not to be involved in the political processes. He was the Prime Minister for more than 1 year, and then he decided to leave the political life. It was his personal decision. He was still involved in the political processes until the last parliamentary elections, which happened in October 2016. But now, according to his decision, he's not involved in the political life anymore. So it was his decision. He is the founder of the political party I represent. That's the Georgian Dream party. He is the founder, but he is not represented in the politics anymore based on his personal decision.
A few weeks ago, the so-called president of occupied Georgia region, South Ossetia, Mr. Bibilov, have been visiting Donetsk, the occupied area of Ukraine. Official Ukrainian authorities didn't react on it. What's your opinion on it? The Georgian occupied territory chief coming into Ukraine to occupy Ukrainian territories.
It's part of the Russian aggressive policy towards Georgia and Ukraine. We have the same, very similar challenges, both countries. So that was part of this aggressive policy. Of course, that creates the most important national challenge for us, the occupation of our two regions. The Russian side fully controls the situation both in Abkhazia and former South Ossetia, and it's a kind of most important goal for us to solve this problem. But we are a small country, it's not only up to us to ensure solution of this problem, and the support from the international stakeholders of our strategic partners is very important, and we are very thankful to the international community which pays attention to this problem, and also the cooperation between Ukraine and Georgia is very important on this slide.
Right now in Georgia, it's ongoing a big lawsuit according to this area, the Caucasus, Northern Caucasus area, the situation in the Pankisi Gorge. There are a lot of questions on it. And how do you think the situation with this militant Chatayev will give the answers for these questions?
It is very important that all the different cases are fully investigated, and the Georgian agencies work hardly on that. We had problems of linkage with the certain citizens of Georgia with terrorist organizations. The international terrorist organizations managed to recruit the Georgian citizens for their purposes, for their goals, and that was a problem. Finally, our security services managed to stop the process, which was very important for us. That is the current situation, but we should pay a very high attention to this issue in general, and we are hopeful that this linkage between the citizens of Georgia and different terrorist organizations will not be re-established.
The same person, so-called president of occupied South Ossetia, Mr. Bibilov, he was visiting also the Serbia. Maybe you think that Georgia should work more on issues of occupied territories in the international policy?
We work very hardly. Also, the Parliament of Georgia is involved in this process. Non-recognition of the occupied regions is one of the most important tasks for us, and we work very hardly. We are applying different formats, bilateral formats, multilateral formats, which have this goal, and we are quite successful so far. Of course, the challenges and problems remain, but our policy is quite successful in this respect.
What the Georgian Parliament should and working on the international policy, Georgian international policy?
Of course, Parliament is a very important stakeholder in this regard. We have adopted a special parliamentary resolution on the foreign policy of Georgia, and it is stated very clearly in this resolution that our main foreign policy goals are the European integration and integration with NATO, and it also outlines that the United States is the most important strategic partner for Georgia. Parliament has the very clear vision for the international policy, and we are applying different formats and different instruments in order to ensure achievement of the foreign policy goals of our country. We are involved in the different parliamentary assemblies. We have the bilateral meetings and visits with our friends, with our partners, and this is the role the Parliament is playing at this moment. Of course, the Parliament of Georgia is very active. In the international dimension, we have a very ambitious team, especially in this particular field. The MPs which are working on the development of our international ties and cooperation are very ambitious, and they are very skilled, and the Parliament again plays a very important role along with the executive branch, with the government, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
As the United States is the most important partner abroad, what do you think on Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and plans to move the United States Embassy into Jerusalem?
First of all, we have a very strong cooperation with the new U.S. administration. It was very important for us to keep a very strong cooperation with the United States under the new administration, and we are very successful in this regard. We had the exchange of high-level visits. The Prime Minister of Georgia visited the United States, and he had meetings with the President, Vice President, State Secretary, and later on the Vice President Mike Pence visited Georgia, and he declared a very strong messages in support of Georgia, which is very important for us. The cooperation between the United States and Georgia is of a strategic importance for our country, of course. We are cooperating with the United States on different issues. As for the issue of Jerusalem, there was a voting, as you know, in the United Nations, and the Georgian side declared its position by abstaining from voting, and that is our position at this moment. These kind of questions should be discussed with our international partners, with different stakeholders, and the final decision should be made on this kind of consultations.
And maybe later Georgia will change its opinion on the Jerusalem's issue.
Again, the consultations should create the basis for any decision on this matter, and we will have consultations with our partners.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.